Hi, everyone. I'm Marie Stacks, CEO and President of Boost Midwest and host of our monthly Direct Perspective series. Boost Midwest is an operations management firm based here in the greater Chicago area, and we focus on elevating the results of our clients worldwide. One of the ways that we do that is we build solutions that align and amplify each organizational strengths and provide resources like the guests that you'll find on our Direct Perspective series. Today, you will be hearing from Andrea Tadych. She is our guest, and she is the SVP of Commercial Banking at Evergreen Bank Group. Andrea, it is so great to have you here with me today.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, one of our favorite aspects of what we do here at Boost is that we get to work with experts every day. Tell us about a little of the work that you do and your team and yourself.
Sure. So I am a commercial banker through and through. I do the lending all the way from lines of credits to commercial real estate. And I also do the deposit side of the house with the technology that allows businesses to see their cash flow clearly and move money efficiently. I focus on privately held companies from 1 to 100 million in the Chicagoland and surrounding states area. And, we are a bank, so we have all kinds of regulations. So I have to put the plug in there that the thoughts and opinions that I share today are my own and not of the bank necessarily. And nothing I say should discourage a lending opportunity.
I love it. Yeah, I totally get that for sure. So you guys have a phenomenal team over there at Evergreen Bank Group, and we're big on teamwork, obviously. So what team members do you see as being critical to the success of what you do?
Oh my goodness, there's really not a person that isn't critical to what we do. I know that sounds weird and cliche, but our tellers are the face of our company. They are the ones who see our customers every single day, or the ones who are helping on the phones. We have our compliance people compliance and credit, who you would think that would be the, opposite of salespeople, but they really help to keep our business going, make sure that we're safe for our customers, for, ourselves. Just makes things flowing well and challenges us to stay in line as salespeople. My operations team in general, they really identify additional ways to help our customers when I'm doing the front end part of it, but they're doing the setup. They're getting into the nitty gritty. They're helping to look for the things and making sure that everything that we roll out for them is working. So, like I said, I know it's a little cliche, but it really is. All the moving parts are so important.
Absolutely. I think for us too, we see companies that come together and we look at their core components, and team dynamics is a huge piece of that. So you're spot on. Every single person matters in an organization. And I love to hear you say it. So are there any considerations that you wish that some of your clients would have thought about as their businesses were going through periods of growth? You probably see quite a bit of a company when you get to talk to folks. So tell us a little bit about kind of what you would have said, you should have thought about this in advance.
So a lot of times I think that companies wait to see the money from the growth in order to put tools in place to help them along. And that's a little bit of a downfall. You really have to find that good balance, because having the tools in place and taking the time to set it up correctly is huge. You're going to waste a lot in the back end if you're not setting those tools up on the front end. Writing everything down, making sure that, the procedures are in place, making sure that your employees know not only how to use or have tools, know how to use them, but then also know the whys that you're doing anything. I touch a small portion, and I've experienced this on the operations side in banking, but when my customers are setting up their change of banks, they're like, okay, why are we doing this? Is this really going to be easy? And the customers who have actually expressed the whys behind what's going to happen when you do set up or do change banks or do a little extra work to put some new technology in place, it really helps.
I think it's that investment, right? Is like not just financially, but the time component and the thought process behind it. That's such a good point. Are there any best practices that you've seen implemented into business operations specifically that like you'd recommend to others as they're doing these, transitions of banks or just implementing proper and better financial procedures?
Yeah. Work with your bankers, 100% work with your bankers, because there are products and services that allow you to to automate your daily activities and eliminate data entry multiple times. That's not something that is thought of when you think of your bank, or, the reconciliation process and having, reports flow back and forth is not something that is always thought of. But it is something that comes with things like ACH or wire transfers, or just your online banking. If you're using it to its full potential, you get all of that, and it's a real time saver. And that's what we're here for, is to make sure that you are setting it up so that, if you have QuickBooks, you have Direct Connect. If you are sending out paper checks, is that really the way to do it? Make sure that you get some of that automated, and then save time. Security. I mean, security is always huge with that too.
Those are such good points. And I think we hear the word automate all the time, not just like, we don't just say automate, everyone says automate, but you're absolutely right about the fact that like time is money. And so the fact that you guys can, especially you step in and you kind of troubleshoot or brainstorm even with your clients, I think that's huge. And as someone who, I love automation features, but even still, I'll get into something and I'll be like, I didn't know I could do that. So having a resource that you can just call and say, hey, is there any other option for this? It's a pain in my butt. Like,
right.
That's always
well, and
nice.
I know sometimes automation can be scary, because sometimes there's employees that are like, wait, if we automate this, what am I going to do every day?
Exactly.
Trust me, there are some really good business practices that you could be doing instead. And the fact that you'll be more efficient and accurate. I mean, the accuracy alone could really be a big benefit for the business overall.
Yeah,
and you will look like a rock star. There's no need to fear it.
Well, and you're spot on about kind of that fear behind, if I automate, I lose my job. We see that with healthcare practices, where it's like we go in and we set up, some sort of lockbox where it's digitizing all their checks and their payments, and they're like, oh my gosh, the money's coming in so fast. But then someone somewhere is like, but my job was to open the mail, and it's like, yes, but now instead of opening the mail, you can take care of patients better, so there's always a trade-off. But I think, to your point, when you figure out where the automations are possible, it's like a whole different game for optimizing your operations. So
absolutely.
What advice would you give to someone that is starting their business or wanting to start a business, and where do they start? I mean, what would you say?
I would say find your team. And this is your external team. So find your lawyer, find your CPA, find your banker, find your insurance person, and ask so many questions, even if they don't seem like it would be the right person to ask that question to. Throw it out there. Even have that whole team come together and talk about what you're looking to do, and make sure that you're setting it all up correctly. We see different businesses all the time. And these experts that you use as your external team are here to help you. They have the knowledge, and we can walk you through the different processes and make sure that they're working together nicely. Or if you don't have, that insurance person or whatever, you rely on those other externals to get you into the right fit, so that you're not opening up your, phone book and trying to find somebody that seems like they'll fit. That's something that you can rely on us for, and that really gives you a good base to start your business, and then have a plan of all the different steps. Like, this is where we're going to be for step 1. This is going to be for step 2. Even for loans, sometimes with the brand new startups, I might not do the loan myself right away, depending. But I'm going to introduce them to the person who is, and then I'm going to stick with them and help them with their deposits all the way through until they're at the growth point where we pick up and do more traditional lending and have them set up in a way, again, to succeed. It's all about planning, really.
I think that's a fantastic bit of advice. And I've heard people say, get your A team together, your team of advisors. And I love that. That's exactly what you just described. So
I think I'm going to steal that. The A team.
Steal it, use it.
I love it. Yes.
Yes, I know. Yeah, I love it too. And it's definitely something that we've implemented, and it changed the perspective and landscape of our company. So, that's advice that I think, I've lived. So I totally appreciate you sharing that. Okay. So one of my favorite questions to ask is, what gets you energized? Kind of, what is your daily motto, or activity that kind of keeps you energized every day?
So am I working towards my purpose is really kind of what my checkpoint is, and really what I use as my motto. Are my behaviors matching what my purpose is, or are my priorities matching what my purpose is every single day? It helps with so many things. It's insane. And it's rewarding too. You cut out a lot of things that are fillers. You're just trying to fill your day, and it's like, am I really doing, I'm prioritizing something that is more task oriented, or something that's mindless or easy because I may have some fear of doing something else, but if you check yourself and you really say, am I working towards my purpose? Is this behavior something that's going to get me to my purpose? It's just a game changer.
I love that. That is not necessarily something that I've heard before. I know people probably do it, but I love that that's your motto, your daily vision. It's amazing.
Yeah. And use it with your team too.
Yeah.
Steal that, please, everyone. It's
Totally
incredible what happens when you ask your team, what is your purpose? Why did you choose banking? Why are you here? And they come back together, and you find out a lot of similarities, and then you all start working towards your purpose, and oh my goodness, what's possible is more than your goals, whatever be.
Yeah. And I think as a leader, it's one of those things when you do, I'm going to totally steal that, because if you ask that of your team, I immediately see the ability as a leader to say, hey, I know this task or this activity or this client will fit you and your purpose and where you want to be. And so it'll make finding who wants to do what so much easier. So that's brilliant. I love it. I'm totally taking that.
Please do.
I love it. So, okay, kind of two last questions here. The first is, what are some of the common challenges that you are seeing your clients face in today's kind of work environment and workplace?
So for businesses, I think that they don't always have a good pulse on what their cash flow is, what their true vision is. And a lot of times they're doing things the way that they're doing them because that's the way it's always been done. Yeah. They're kind of just stuck in that, and they also have, this feeling that, well, if we change it, it's going to be hard, it's going to be expensive, or we can't take out a loan because, we don't get into debt, we'll wait to pay for it. It's kind of an aversion to maybe some of the banking stuff. I get it. Sometimes bankers are made out to be bad guys. We're really not, I promise you. But getting it set up and working with your banker is a challenge to get through that mental path. Let's face it, business owners did not get into business because they really like to work with numbers. Usually, depends what the business is, but usually that's not their passion. So to get over that hurdle is huge, and to have the right things in place to make sure you know where you're at all times it's difficult, but there are things that you can do, and it will make a big difference.
I totally think too. We work with female entrepreneurs, you and I do all the time. And I do see that women in general, not only is there less funding usually offered to them, but it's also one of those things that I think innately we don't go after. So
Right.
I think that's such a good point, and such a serious challenge that is, I think, ahead for the business world, is to find that equity across both gender and race. And so I definitely can understand where you're coming from on that. So
For sure, there's plenty of times where people are like, well, I won't qualify, so I'm not going to ask.
right.
No,
Worst they can say is no.
Right. And if you have a good banker, they're gonna say no, but let's,
Yes. Here's
no,
how
not
we'll
right
get you
now.
there.
Let's
Yes.
do this. Exactly. Right.
That's true. That is a good banker. That's a good advisor for sure. So what are the best practices that you would want to kind of leave us with, as far as, I know we've talked about them, but kind of maybe a summary of like, here are the best practices that you see in your industry most?
So I think that make sure that tools are set up for you. Utilize your banker and your A team in general to bounce ideas off of. Make sure that you put your dreams into words and just say, this is kind of what I'm picturing. How close can we get to that? Utilizing your tools as well. So maybe if you are afraid to use them, get a demo, check it out, see what's happening with it. If you are going to implement anything, make sure that you're doing like an internal marketing for your employees when you're rolling it out. So it really explains what the benefits are to them, and most importantly, to the customer. Because I don't care what kind of change you're making, you're going to do it because it ultimately affects the customer. That's just the way it is. So drilling it down and building up the positive comments around that is huge. And yeah, make sure you're working towards your purpose, whether you're on the client side or this side.
That's brilliant. I love it, Andrea. And I think too, I'm going to walk away with this with quite a few things for me to do, which is wonderful. But I think writing down your dreams, driving with your purpose, like those two things, I think are wonderful, wonderful places for anyone to start, no matter where you are.
Yeah.
So I love it.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, thank you so much. It has been fantastic to have you on today. And I'm excited that we had the opportunity to share your background and share it on the direct perspective. So
yeah, I appreciate it so much.